Let's talk about Robert Downey Jr., okay? Let me just start with this one question. Maybe this is like sort of the place that we can begin this conversation. Would you guys, at this point, right now, at this juncture, would you be upset if Robert Downey Jr. never came back to the Marvel Cinematic Universe? That's my big question for you, chat. Yeah, see, RDJ is done. Let's move on. It's no biggie. It is a biggie. I can't believe you guys. You guys are ruining all my fun of everything I've ever wanted, okay? Just yesterday, I'm pretty sure this all happened yesterday. A big piece in Vanity Fair talking about RDJ, okay? And it was really kind of talking about his journey as an actor. It's like this huge piece, like a big old fluffy puff piece for RDJ. I don't know. I was reading it and I was like, God damn, like this is just like RDJ's the fucking best, blah, 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 blah. But it also kind of feels like they're saying, you know, he's not coming back, right? And that a lot of the piece and even the concept of the piece felt like to me trying to separate RDJ from the Marvel Cinematic Universe and that whole thing, okay? And there was a quote put in here by Kevin Feige about this. There's also like a Russo brothers quote and some other things that people are talking about, but let's check this out. So it says here, and I'm on Murphy's Multiverse because I did not want to go through that whole huge Vanity Fair piece, okay? Here's the most important part. In an interview with Vanity Fair, however, Marvel Studios CEO Kevin Feige has once again highlighted that they are not going to undo the big heartbreaking death of Tony Stark's death in Avengers Endgame. He gave the following statement that they won't magically undo it in any way. So here's the exact quote. "We are going to keep that moment and not touch that moment again. We all worked very hard for many years to get to that, and we would never want to magically undo it in any way." Okay. Now, the article goes on to say, he says, however, we should keep in mind that this doesn't mean Robert Downey Jr. could still return in some form in the franchise. They could have him take on a different role and still appear in the multiverse franchise. The fact they haven't used the actor since they started a multiverse storyline showcases that they are holding back and likely only reintroduce a version of him if it fits the story thematically. Okay. So that's the exact thing that was said by Kevin Feige. And a lot of people kind of running with that and being like, yo, RDJ is not coming back. Now, to me, I do find it a little weird that that article drops and that they're going to be talking about that, especially, right, given the context of that big report in Variety talking about how they might even consider bringing these characters back. A lot of what's in Joanna Robinson's book seems to hint that Marvel Studios is considering bringing them all back. You know, even on the red carpet for the Marvels, in a really awkward interview, Feige is asked about possibly bringing them back and said, we didn't talk about that at the retreat. That's the truth. We didn't talk about that at the retreat, okay? As far as the official statement out there, Robert Downey Jr. is not going to be coming back as Iron Man. And again, I wanted to ask you guys how you feel about that. Would you be okay with him not coming back at all? And I am surprised, I will be honest with you guys, I'm surprised at how many of you don't care or wouldn't care about that. I personally would feel robbed if we never saw RDJ as Iron Man again, okay? I personally would feel robbed. I think, given the promise of what Secret Wars is, the idea of celebrating all of the greatest parts of all the Marvel franchises before this, you know, MCU thing, if we're really celebrating all of the greatest people, all of the greatest characters, and having that kind of fun, it will feel really weird if RDJ as Iron Man is not back there. RDJ as Iron Man is maybe the greatest casting of all time. I believe that. So do people like Christopher Nolan, Tom Cruise. Huge Hollywood people have said this in interviews. They think Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man is the greatest casting in the history of Hollywood. And the way he played that character and what he contributed to the Marvel Cinematic Universe as that character, I don't think we've ever seen anything like that. There are, of course, iconic people that have played comic book roles in the past. You know, you've got Toby, you've got Hugh Jackman, you know, you've got Sir Ian McKellen, you know, Sir Patrick Stewart. You have these people that have been well cast and carried the torch for the character in the franchise. You have never had anybody like RDJ and what he contributed to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. What I can't quite wrap my head around is like, what is going on? Like, what is going on? Because I actually do think it's possible that he will never come back and that we'll never see him in Secret Wars. And if that happens, I'm going to do that super toxic thing as a fan and take what was technically never promised, what we all thought would be coming, and I'm going to hold Marvel accountable for not doing that. I'm going to lose my fucking mind. You know what I mean? I'll be honest with you guys. It's not going to be a good look. However, calm down. The reality is, I think there's a lot of evidence to suggest that we will get Robert Downey Jr. back. Not only did Daniel Rickman quote tweet an article also talking about this and saying that version of Tony is not going to be undone, that they want that story beat and that sacrifice for that character to be there and intact. Totally get it. My time to shine recently, and this is really interesting because I'm going to do a full video on basically a string of spoilers done by My Time to Shine Hello and Can We Get Some Toast. So look out for that. I'm not going to go over everything in the stream because we try to not talk full-on spoilers here. But one of the things that was in there was My Time literally just said that RDJ and Chris Evans will be reintegrated via variants. Okay, so she just basically said that. That is what they're going to do. The other side of this, though, is that it looks as though this will only be during Secret Wars and basically leading up to the reboot. Because My Time to Shine also said that Tony Stark, Black Widow, and Captain America will all be recast post-reboot. This is for the MCU reboot, and we're going to get new actors playing those roles so they can hang out with the X-Men and the Fantastic Four. Now, whoa, that is crazy. That's different than I thought we were going to get. I had thought it was completely possible they'd bring RDJ back permanently, Chris Evans back permanently, Scarlett Johansson back permanently. Remember we had that big stream and we talked about this, speculated about it, and went through why I think it would make sense. So going with recasting is so weird. I also think bringing them back via variants is also weird. You know what I mean? Like, it is. Now, technically, we've already seen this. Technically, in Endgame, when they go back in time and they meet themselves, I think they're meeting variants. Like, we literally have a Captain on Captain fight. Captain America versus Captain America. Tony Stark's, watching his own heart, die in the back. That didn't happen the first time around, so you would assume that's a different thing with variants? I don't know. I just think that this whole idea of, like, keeping the sacrifice of Tony Stark, this sacred cow, while also just bringing them back via variants and then recasting them, is that really different than what I'm even talking about? So my question to you guys is that really that different? So if you bring in a variant of Tony Stark, you're supposed to have all of these feelings towards this character. The reason you do it is to play on nostalgia, to make people remember that character, to get hyped up. It's like the Spider-Man No Way Home effect, right? But imagine the Spider-Man No Way Home effect, but like you're clearly told that's not that Toby. How is it any different than Loki, who we saw have a very meaningful death at the beginning of Infinity War, being taken out of time and then going on a whole nother arc? That's awesome. And now we love this version of Loki and we're like, dude, that's Loki. How is it different? So I don't know, man. Like, for me, I think there's a couple of different things going on. Number one, you could have a scenario where Marvel's simply trying to get ahead of this and try to keep it a big secret. I mean, Evans was in the news, I think it was last week, and he said something to the effect of, what's news to me, even though he's signed. You know what I mean? Like, he's like, that's news to me. The Avengers coming back? Holy shit. Who would have thought? That's news to me, right? And we're all just supposed to be like, okay, yeah, no, they're not actually coming back. Same thing with Scarlett. Same thing with Tatiana Maslany. Remember when she was on? Dude, Tatiana Maslany had the best one where she came out and said, that's actually really scary and dangerous. Those kind of rumors, they've hurt me before and you're hurting me right now, Jimmy Fallon. Please stop. And she was signed. Fucking Andrew Garfield for 2 years being the werewolf, right? And he was there. So maybe this is just a version of that. And maybe this whole big spread in Vanity Fair is meant to like distance Robert Downey Jr. from Tony Stark and like keep that thing sacred and put a bunch of doubt into the minds and hearts of fans that maybe he won't come back. And honestly, that's kind of cool. Like, I wouldn't be mad if it was this elaborate thing to get us to have doubt and to get us to be like, okay, maybe he's not coming back. But ultimately, the execution and the plan itself, to me, I'm now a little bit more concerned. I don't see how a variant version of Tony is supposed to have that same oomph for me, especially if the lensing of these films is through Tom Holland Spider-Man. That's another big leak that's out there, is Tom Holland Spider-Man is supposed to be the focus of the next two Avengers movies. And so how are you going to have Tony, or rather Peter, be the focus of the movies, and then you're going to involve Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark? So, like, we'll get the feels. Peter will get the feels. That's his mentor, you know? But that Tony's going to be like, who the fuck are you? Like, what, you know, like, what's a snap? Like, what's an Avenger? You know, like, what? Like, and then we're supposed to feel good about that? Like, I just don't know. Like, that feels a little weird to me. It's part of the concern I have over Deadpool 3 as well, because we're supposed to feel nostalgic that we're getting the Fox X-Men back, but I don't know if they're going to be the exact Fox X-Men, right? The Beast we saw at the end of the Marvels, that's a variant. Like, it has to be. Like, it doesn't even look like the Beast from the old movies. Why is he hanging out with Binary? Binary didn't exist in the other X-Men movies. So, like, what's going on? It's like they want to have the nostalgia, but they don't want to undercut these big scenes and these sacrifices. And it's like this, man. Like, we all love Logan, right? Love it. Love Logan. I think it's a brilliant ending for that character, and I think it really wraps up the story of that entire franchise. It's really cool. But we're all really excited that Hugh Jackman is back as Wolverine, right? So I don't get this. I don't get this, like, in, out, 1 foot in, 1 foot out kind of a thing. I mean, dude, it's comics. Like, it's just comics. Like, they always come back. And so I don't understand. And I'm kind of, like, concerned about how they would use these characters as variants to play on nostalgia, but make them technically different characters just so you can keep that thing intact. And then on top of that, guys, they're just gonna recast anyways. So if you reboot the MCU and it's a different Tony Stark, which that appears to be the case, that appears to be what My Time to Shine is hinting at, right? So you're gonna get a whole new Tony Stark, a whole new Steve Rogers, a whole new Black Widow, and you're telling me that doesn't undermine the sacrifice? That doesn't undermine Tony's snap? I feel the exact opposite. I feel by rebooting and recasting, that is the most undermining thing that can possibly happen to that event. The entire universe that Tony Stark had saved is gone. It's gonna go away. So I don't know, man. Like, to me, I'm just like, okay, it seems like this is the plan. They're going to integrate them via variants, right? And it seems like they're going to do this to keep that sacrifice, to keep that moment, to keep that thing intact. And yet they're still going to try to borrow all the nostalgia from these characters that were established by the versions that had a perfect ending. And then they're going to have that all lead just to a reboot and recasting, which again, to me, completely undermines that arc. And it's like this. I don't even care. Like, I don't hold, like, that moment in Endgame is so dope. It is like almost a perfect ending for that character. This monumental 10-year thing, but I don't hold it to be so sacred that I wouldn't be excited to see RDJ back, that I wouldn't be excited if he came back permanently as Iron Man, because it's just fucking comic books, dude. Like, at the end of the day, we're here to have fun and watch superheroes do dope shit while looking badass. It ain't that deep, so I don't understand. What do you think? Like, am I out of left field on this one? Am I going fucking crazy? Or do you think that I have a point? And do you think that, you know, you guys were wrong when you were negative about RDJ coming back, and it's your fault that now we're going to recast?